right. Thank you, Chairman and committee members, for the opportunities to speak today in support of the Workplace Psychological Safety Act. I, too, am here today as a human resources executive and someone who is deeply familiar with how our legal system fails to protect workers from psychological abuse and how these failures silently destroy lives. I have worked in HR departments where I was told explicitly to ignore complaints that involved executives, board members, and others that hold internal political power. I know places where retaliation is considered a basic strategy and where my job was threatened for advocating for those who are being harmed. And in these types of moments, I have to choose between protecting someone else or keeping my own job. And I think, as we just heard, this is a phenomenon that happens for HR professionals in many, many places. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how strong your anti-harassment policy is if the culture punishes the very people who seek to use it. And it doesn't matter how many mental health webinars that you run if your employees are too afraid to name what's actually happening. And unfortunately, it also doesn't matter if civil rights laws protect people with, or are intended to protect people with protected characteristics, when a bully can just be an equal opportunity abuser to overcome a claim from the EEOC. So our laws as they currently stand allow abuse to persist, unchecked, untracked, and unpunished, and it's hurting tens of millions of people. If we look at the numbers that, we see reports with more than 70 million Americans reporting being bullied at work. Up to 30% of bullied workers show clinical symptoms of PTSD. MRI studies show brain scars that are identical to trauma seen in combat veterans. Folks are 1.6 times or have 1.6 times higher risk of heart disease when they've been bullied at work. And as we've seen from other testimony, stress-induced inflammation is known as a factor in breast cancer and other types of cancers. And a large study involving 98,000 participants found that individuals exposed to workplace bullying had a 65% higher risk of suicidal behavior, including attempts and deaths, compared to those who had not. And last, 71% of bullied employees leave or are forced out of their job, leaving to a typical financial loss of anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000, and that does not include lost health benefits. So I am one more voice here today to urge you to please pass the Workplace Psychological Safety Act, to give HR the tools that they need to protect people, to give workers the protection they deserve, and give future generations a workplace that does not normalize psychological harm as the price of a paycheck. Thank you so much for your time. Happy to answer any questions.